Hello, this is MIXSPY number 6. I'm Fidi. Today I'm gonna explain you another song. I mixed it recently. I mixed it in the box, as we call it. But before you know it, I want to show you something special. It's a magazine called Carpazine. I received it yesterday, straight from America, New York. It's a magazine run by Fernando Capaneda, who is himself a very nice artist who does these kind of very beautiful pictures. But the reason why I'm so happy to introduce you to Carpazine is that because I'm here. This is me when I was in my ex-band called Behemoth. Annika, my gorgeous wife, is also here, artist, bijma.com. With that band, Behemoth, we played some kind of a British indie rock music. It was called Britpop back then. It is strange, but here in Russia we have some kind of a cult of the British music. And recently I got an offer from another band from Moscow called Amin, which is Amen in English. They sing in Russian, but they do this kind of real 90s British pop music. It's almost impossible to dream of popularity in Russia when you sing in English. Forget about it. But still, especially in St. Petersburg and Moscow, we have a bunch of really good bands playing indie rock music and singing it in English. And one of them is The Riots, which is one of my favorite bands, along with Pulse Pumps that I've produced 2 albums for. And The Mean is a side project of Sasha, the leader of The Riots. This is what I saw and heard when I just imported files in a new session. As you see, this level of most of the tracks is very low. So please guys, next time you send something to someone to produce, try to somehow bounce your tracks so that they are in a good volume, because you will lose your quality if you don't do that. What we have here is a beat recorded by some drum sampler. Okay, sounds very funny and some drum tricks, tambourine. Cool. Bass and guitar mixed in one track. Very nice. This kind of sound I've heard at some new wave bands like Siouxsie and the Banshees, or I like this sound. What is this? Guitar, okay, mixed in one track, but it's okay if you send this kind of layers that you have to add additional layers. It's okay that you mix them in one track. Again, some drum. Oh no, it's some kind of sound. Some more effects. Small room. Okay, I got what they were doing here. It's a room effect that they were just recorded and bounce it as one track for me. So that I will use it just to know what they had in mind when they were doing it themselves. When they were trying to mix it themselves. It's a delay they used for drums. Yeah, cool thing. And some more effects. guitar and organ. This is also effects bounced. It looks like they were doing it at some Cubase or I don't know. Guitar. One more track that is very quiet. This is pad. Okay. And another pad is here. Cool. What's that? Backing vocals. And I believe that these are 3 tracks. Some of them are copied. I will check it later on. I think. This is with the whole effect again. This track has some whole effect there. Whole effects there. This track has some whole effects there. Cool. Bongo. Very nice. Tropic. Break. Very 90s kind of music. Same thing. Some kind of. Do you hear some Prodigy in that? I like this kind of a reference back to the 90s. And the organ is very 90s as well. These organs are panned to the right. This is how they wanted them to be. Let's see what I will do with it afterwards. Okay, fine, organ again. And there you go. Electric piano. What I like about this kind of style is that the progression of chords, it doesn't change during the whole length of the song, and it's 6, even more than 6 minutes long. It's a kind of trancey thing that they were doing in the 90s, but this is 2018 in Moscow. Man. Some other guitar, and what do we have here? The C. Okay, let's swim.
Новый день непременно начнется. По-прежнему вокруг своей оси вращается
vocals.
Мимо смысла избитых истин.
Yes, this is how they actually send it to me.
Вроде что-то слушал, вроде что-то слышал.
Already a lot of effects there. And the last track is a mix that they have done. And they said that they don't like it, so I don't have to refer on it. So now we're going to mix it. Before anything, I want to explain you how I organized the whole session here. This is the master channel, and I don't have anything on the inserts here but the waves analyzer. EAZ, a new track, stereo, aux, created it and called it master aux, and I sent all the channels through this bus to this aux, and I had these effects here. This is linear phase EQ, which is very good for cutting the high end very strictly. C6, which is multi-band compressor, I mostly use it to control the 100 Hz frequency here, and this is also a very useful thing. The rest is just a little bit compressed, just a little. On the end of the effects you have this limiter. This time it's Auto Maximizer, which is I just prefer this one. L7 is very good. Then the music, mix it with these plugins, master it with these plugins, is sent to the audio track called mix, and record it right during the playback. The easiest way to record a master of a track that you're mixing. If I don't produce and if I don't mix and master an album, I always do it like this. Sometimes I start mixing with only one limiter here on the end of a master aux, just because I want to hear the sound already limited, and then I also created two new stereo aux inputs. I called them room 1, room 2. I put some reverb here. It's a quite short reverb. I EQ'd it. I spread the width of the stereo bass, stereo panorama, and I compressed it. The second room is longer, way longer, and it's also EQ'd. It's also wide by stereo, also compressed. And the thing is that this bumper is a very funny thing. The first time I heard this song, I wanted to add this bump to some of the instruments here, and usually I add it to some lengthy sounds like pads, or this time I added it to lengthy reverb sound that had a tail of those keyboards there and vocals too. And whenever it's pumping, it sounds a bit more dancey. It makes your body move. Okay, you will see this when a bumper quite often here. You will see it here and here. Okay, so what we have here is this is the drum track, which originally sounded quite monophonic. It didn't have that much of stereo spread. I listened to it the very first time, and I heard that the low is very messy there. This sound had some kind of a reverb that was messy in the low frequencies there. So I just copied this track, and first of all I started working with the low frequencies here. So I just cut all the high and mid range. I cut this particular frequencies. There was something here sounding not very nice, and I wanted this kick to be shorter. This is how I did it, and then I just used this SSLG channel, and actually I didn't use that much of this EQ in here. I was using only this gate. As for the rest, don't forget to keep your low frequency spaces in the middle of your stereo bass. The rest of drums is funded left and right. We have here cut the same frequencies here, which were annoying me. I cut some high frequencies there because whenever you hear something annoying, you just cut it off. because otherwise you won't be happy in the end. The same thing here. I cut the low frequency. It's kick that I cut in here. We already have kick in here. This is something messy on the low end of mid range, and this is the snare that I wanted to be punchy and accentuated at this. 200 and something is usually where the snare drum has its low end. Then I just needed one extra equalizer here to add something here. I believe it's a snare. Yeah, it's a snare. The next thing is a delay. It's an aux track that I created, and I sent this high end signal through this bus 1 and 2 to this channel, and I got this bonnet delay left right. It's got 8th repetition on the left and 16th repetition on the right. The length, the feedback of the delay is very short, it's just 0. And then I cut everything but the high frequencies here, because I wanted this hi-hat flying from one side to another. Okay, sounds good. These symbols, I added them myself. They were missing in my perspective, and I added them. There is another one delay here that I added to the snare drum. I believe it's a snare drum, or some sound that is produced by some kind of a reverberation or whatever was there in the Akai beat sampler. I just liked this the sound that it's got here, and I wanted to spread it and make it a bit wider. So I added this reverb. Do you hear it? Okay, tambourine. Tambourine is just a tambourine. You don't have to actually do anything about it. Just spun it if you want to. Just got something that is annoying you and add something which you feel is useful. Beats and breaks. Just a little bit of EQ in here and there. I didn't want this low frequency here and there, because otherwise when the real kick starts, it doesn't kick this hard as I wanted to. And I have this gorgeous one knob filter. You can see how it works. Cool, isn't it? What about this bass? Some echoing, really hard echoing here. This bass had some notes that were jumping in this range, so I just cut them like this. This equalizer is to show some low mid frequencies here, because this bass in the very end of the song start playing some kind of a solo thing. Quite cool thing. Not very often used by me. It's a very good max pass by waves. Then I just compressed very heavily. BF76 is the best of compressors that I have here. A limiter which corrects the attacks, just attenuates it a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning of the song. Pad and another pad here. It's some kind of melody here and just a pad. Doublet, because I wanted it stereo. The guy sent me a stereo track of that, but actually it was a monophonic track, so I had to separate all of those stereo tracks, otherwise my project would be overloaded with information and all of the plugins would use the double from. I put this doublet 2 on, and please check this one out. And this is where I used this fantastic one-knob pumper. But not everywhere, but only here where the drum kit starts playing. As for this sound, you can see that I used no EQ in here. I just liked the sound as the guys already produced it. I arranged one more aux track to mix these parts together. 7/8, 7/8, plus 7/8. And all of these pads. By the way, check this out. The pad is now stereo, but the melody is panned right. And all of this sound mixed together in this aux. As you see, it's wet. This is dry, wet. Organ. I panned it far left. As you remember, it was a little bit to the right side, but the guy's mix, original mix, I thought that it's good on left. Because we have this melody on the right, we have this organ on the left, and then we have guitars on the right, mostly on the right. First of all, let's check this EQing for this green organ. It is just some low frequencies here cut, because otherwise they would mess with the bass and stuff like drums, and it's not needed in here at all. On the high you have that pad spread and tambourine and hi-hat and everything, and like vocals there, so any of the additional clicks by the keyboards, by the keys of organ, by the keys of the organ, they're just not needed here. The second one is an organ that had a bit different sound. In original mixing project it was some kind of effect here. I believe it was some kind of room or whatever, and I thought that it's a good idea to use this pumper here again, because this is how it makes the music jumping. Let's have a listen to it with the drums. Cool, isn't it? Some more organ by the end of the verse. Still, as you can hear, it's padded on the left, because I thought that it's a good idea to keep all the guitars on the right side, and we will start with this guitar. Nothing much EQ'd here, I just liked the sound of it. First, I didn't want to use this one. Maserati is a good plugin to make a guitar sound be shown clearly through the arrangement, but while I was passing through the mixing process, I decided to finally use this one. And then the second guitar enters. Make it a little bit harder because there was something. There was some kind of wowing sound on this 408 Hertz. This guitar is padded a little bit right. As you can hear, I sent this guitar to both of the rooms, short and long one. The next solo. This guitar is also positioned on right, not that much, but just a little. It's like about 10% right. But I copy-pasted this guitar to this channel so that I will have this Maserati working for this sound as well. And together they make the guitar sound a little bit more far right. And by the end of the track, I had to change the stereo. Because there was a guitar and there was nothing else going on the left side, so I let this second guitar play a little bit left. Left channel is far left. The right channel moves further and further left. The same as about this guitar. It's quite in the middle here. There is some more tracks that we have missed. It's this sound which is called a guitar, but it's a kind of effect sound. Hello, Prodigy. Far right. Far right. Everything cut but the high frequencies. I don't want it to sound guitarish at all. I just want it to be a sample of freaky sound. Okay, and some more keyboards are here. But if you imagine this band, you have this kind of a drum kit in the center, keyboard player on the left, and the guitar players on the right. It's easier for a listener to hear the mix if the sounds are naturally separated. Not so much of amendments here or the queuing. Because actually the guys already done a lot of work with this mix, and there is some this track is called Mamba and Bells, but actually it's a guitar, slide guitar here, mixed with some other instruments like Mamba. Okay, so for that slide guitar I made the high frequencies focused a lot. I just added hell of high frequencies to it. Do you want to know why? Because we have this kind of call and answer. This guitar starts and that one responds, and again and again. Isn't it tricky? So if you pan this one left and this one right, it's a good thing for a listener to get interested in listening to the record. Mamba. Mamba marimba. I could hit quite hard. There was some weird sounds here, so I just cut them down, but I needed these middle frequencies here, so I just cut what I didn't like and added the rest of it. It's compressed. And just because without compression it doesn't sound as good. These fantastic bells that I always loved since Siouxsie and the Banshees album called Tinderbox. Compression on bongs. Bongos. The last but not least is this. Bass. Guitar. Sent and mixed in one aux channel with usage of this fantastic plugin, the King's Microphones by Abbey Road Studios, and I've chosen this Queen Elizabeth microphone, position 1. Then I had to cut very high frequencies jumping here, because after this plugin all of these percussive high frequencies were jumping and hitting my ears. Probably I was already very tired while listening, so I just used this de-esser. And of course I cut the low end, added some mid-range, and I cut something that I didn't like in this Queen Elizabeth microphone sound of this guitar and bass. But it's a tricky thing. You don't have to keep the natural sound of these instruments here, because it's very intro to the song, and it's just a funny thing that the guys recorded. Let's just keep it funny. This is the C. When I come to the vocals, I always arrange 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 extra aux channels to mix vocals before I send them to the final master. So I have this vocal mix aux channel created in stereo aux, okay, and I have this equalizer here, and I have this compressor, and I have this de-esser here, and limiter as well. And I also quite often I create this additional aux to add some whispering, some breathing sound to the sound of vocals. And I use this fodder and this preset whisper, but breathy depends. Usually I correct the sound of this with this equalizer here. It works like this.
Новый день непременно начнется. По-прежнему вокруг своей оси вращается Земля, и светит солнце, не услышал от...
It probably sounds a little bit too much here, but it's good with the mix.
Новый день непременно...
One extra aux track here is non-linear reverb.
Новый день непременно начнется. По-прежнему вокруг своей оси вращается Земля.
I make the original sound stereo, and then I spread the width, and then I got the frequencies that I didn't want, and that makes the sound of vocals a little bit wider.
Новый день непременно...
One more thing is this channel, which is distortion, that I EQ afterwards, because there is some sounds that I don't like, and it's also added to the main sound of the vocals.
Новый день непременно начнется. По-прежнему вокруг своей оси вращается Земля.
As you can see, this is a volume of distortion channel, and there is no distortion during the vocals in the verse, and then
Новый день непременно начнется.
As well as the room appears only here, because there is a lot of room here. We don't need it there. Backing vocals. We had 2 audio tracks of backing vocals, and the guys wanted the girl, wanted the sound of this, wanted the sound of this girl's vocal sound very ethereal, very surrealistic, and like cloudy, like misty. So as usual, I added this fodder, and then I had this back mix aux track to mix all of these girls here together and send them to the main master. What I have here in this backing vocals mix track, I have the same doubler. Then we have this fantastic thing, which is vocal rider. It's a compressor that looks ahead at your vocal line. Then I have this non-linear reverb. It's only 44% of the effect there. The original sound is the rest of it. Then we have this compressor, of course, and in the end we have the same de-esser. Listen to that.
Мимо смысла избитых истин. Мимо смысла избитых истин. Вроде что-то слушал, вроде что-то слышал. Кто-то слушал, кто-то слышал.
I didn't want to tune the main vocal, since we wanted to achieve some kind of a 90s sound. It doesn't have to be tuned at all. The only thing that I had to edit is the endings of some words that were missing. Is pronouncing the endings of words really hard, like, and at the same time it sounds very, very lazy.
Что начнется. По-прежнему вокруг своей оси вращается земля. И светит солнце, не услышал ответ. Еще раз.
That's very cool actually. I really enjoyed his vocals. So let's just master it down and call it a day.
Кто-то слышал. Мимо смысла избитых истин. Мимо смысла избитых истин. Что-то, что-то, что-то. Новый день непременно начнется. По-прежнему вокруг своей оси вращается земля. И светит солнце, не услышал ответ. Еще раз. Новый день непременно начнется. По-прежнему вокруг своей оси вращается земля. И светит солнце, не услышал ответ. Еще раз прости. Еще раз прости. Еще раз.
That was Amin with a song "Sprosi", which means ask me. If you find this video useful for you, like it, leave your comments, subscribe to MIXSPY channel. I will tell you more about anything you want to know. And ciao for now. Ciao.